Am I the asshole for destroying my entire family? While you hear the story, run, jump, duck, and move left or right when you see the obstacles. Follow your helper for the first 2 minutes. After that, you're on your own. Ready? Let's go. My aunt has been insulting me for almost 30 years. Last month, my therapist gave me one sentence that finally made her stop. No yelling, no insults, no arguing. Just 7 words. Is that supposed to make me feel bad? It worked. Maybe a little too well, because 3 weeks later, my aunt and my mother were screaming at each other across my grandparents' dining room. My cousin was crying, my grandmother was begging everyone to stop, and my grandfather finally admitted something that explained almost 30 years of my life. Now my aunt says I destroyed our family. My mom says I dragged things up that should have stayed buried. And my grandfather hasn't spoken to me since. So I'm genuinely starting to wonder if I should have just kept my mouth shut. I'm 34 months Miles Diane. Has a younger sister named Claudia. Claudia has a daughter, Madison, who's only 4 months younger than me. Growing up, Madison and I were basically raised together. Same schools for a while, same family vacations, same birthday parties. But physically, we couldn't have looked more different. Madison was tall, skinny, and blonde. She became a cheerleader in high school and was basically the kind of teenager adults love showing off in family photos. I was short, had thick, curly brown hair, and once puberty hit, became very curvy. None of that originally bothered me. Claudia made it bother me. I genuinely can't remember when the comparisons started, because they've existed for as long as I can remember. If Madison got an A and I got a B, maybe Madison can help you study. If Madison wore a dress, see how elegant Madison looks. If I wore something similar, that style doesn't really work on your body. At family dinners, she asked Madison about cheerleading and then turned to me and asked whether I'd found an activity yet. The weirdest part? Madison never participated. We actually got along really well. Sometimes, after Claudia made a comment, Madison would roll her eyes at me when her mom wasn't looking. Once, when we were about 14, Claudia bought us dresses for a family wedding. Madison came downstairs first. Claudia said, "Look at you, you could be a model." Then I came downstairs. Claudia stared at me for a few seconds. "Well, yours certainly fits differently." I didn't understand why Madison immediately looked uncomfortable. I understood a few years later. Puberty hit me hard. I developed a chest very early, and suddenly Claudia's comments changed. It wasn't just that Madison was prettier or thinner anymore. Now there was something supposedly inappropriate about me. If I wore a tank top, she asked if my mom was really letting me leave the house like that. If a boy talked to me, she'd make jokes about me, collecting boyfriends. At 16, she once told my mom, right in front of me, "You're going to have your hands full with this one." The hilarious part is that I didn't even have my first boyfriend until I was 19. His name is Daniel. He's now my husband. So apparently, I was terrible at being the teenage slut Claudia had predicted. When I was 18, I got a small tattoo on my foot. It's for my dad, who passed away. Claudia called it trashy. Not the design, not the placement. Me, around the same age, I went through what I considered my rebellious phase. I dyed part of my hair darker and got a lip piercing. Was it slightly embarrassing? Maybe. Did I think I looked incredible? Absolutely. I removed the piercing years ago. Claudia still brings it up. At Thanksgiving 2 years ago, she randomly asked, "Do you ever look at old pictures and realize how stupid that thing looked?" I was 28. The lip ring had been gone for almost a decade. That's Claudia. Nothing ever expires, because the truth was, I didn't want to let her. I just spent my entire life being taught that stopping her would somehow make me the problem. So I talked to my mom. I told her family events had become unbearable. I explained that every single time I saw Claudia, I spent the drive there wondering what she'd criticize next. My body, my marriage, my age, my fertility. I asked my mom to please talk to her sister. She sighed. Then she said, "You know how Claudia is." I said, "Yes, that's why I'm asking you." My mom told me she didn't want to start problems. That sentence really stuck with me, because apparently Claudia insulting me for 30 years wasn't starting problems. Me asking her to stop was. So I talked about it with my therapist. She suggested something ridiculously simple. The next time Claudia made one of those comments, don't defend myself. Don't explain. Don't insult her back. Just ask, is that supposed to make me feel bad? I thought it sounded stupid. Then I tried it. We were at my grandparents' house for my grandmother's birthday. I was getting food when Claudia looked at my plate and said, "Careful. Nary weight is harder to lose at your age." Normally I'd laugh. Instead I looked at her and asked, "Is that supposed to make me feel bad?" Claudia froze. She said, "What?" I repeated it. "Was that supposed to make me feel bad?" Suddenly everyone around us was listening. Claudia laughed nervously. "Of course not. I'm just saying metabolism changes when you're 30. I said, "Okay," and went back to making my plate. It was incredible. For the first time in my life, I hadn't spent the next 20 minutes thinking about what she'd said. Claudia had. So I kept doing it. But the thing she obsessed over most was Daniel. Daniel and I met when I was 19. He's handsome, successful, and genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. And Claudia apparently couldn't understand why someone like him would want someone like me. She never said that directly. She didn't have to. We dated for 13 years before getting married. That was intentional. We wanted to buy a house first. Neither of us cared about having a huge wedding, and financially it made more sense. Claudia treated those 13 years like a countdown to Daniel abandoning me. Every Christmas. No ring yet? Every wedding. Don't get too excited, you might scare Daniel. When we bought our house, well, at least now it'll be harder for him to leave. Once right in front of Daniel, she said, "You better lock this one down before some younger girl realizes what a catch he is." Daniel just stared at her. Later in the car he asked, "Does she actually hate you?" I laughed. Because that's what I'd learned to do. Laugh. My mom always told me Claudia was just like that. Don't take it personally. Don't start drama. Be the bigger person. Then Daniel proposed. Claudia's reaction when she saw the ring was, "Finally." Not congratulations. Finally. We got married last year. And I genuinely thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Because now Claudia had a new subject. Babies. Madison had gotten married 2 years before us and recently had her first baby. I was genuinely happy for her. The first time I held her daughter, I cried. And that's when Claudia leaned over and said, "You better hurry. You're already 30. I laughed awkwardly. She continued, "You don't want to be 40 at kindergarten pickup." Daniel heard that one. On the drive home he said, "Why do you let her talk to you like that?" And for the first time, I didn't have an answer. At another family dinner, she asked when Daniel and I were finally going to give my mother grandchildren. I asked, "Is that supposed to make me feel bad?" She immediately said, "Why would that make you feel bad?" I shrugged. "That's why I'm asking." Madison nearly choked trying not to laugh. Then something strange started happening. Claudia became careful around me. She'd start a sentence and stop herself. For the first time in 30 years, she was thinking before she spoke. I thought I'd solved the problem. Then my mom called me. She was furious. She said I needed to stop doing that thing to Claudia. I asked what thing. "You know exactly what you're doing. You're embarrassing her in front of everyone." I couldn't believe it. I said, "Mom, I'm literally asking her what she means." She told me I was making family gatherings uncomfortable. I said she's been making me uncomfortable since I was a child. My mom told me that wasn't the same thing. Then she said something that really pissed me off. "Just let it go. You're 30 years old." Exactly. I'm 30 years old, which means I'm finally old enough to decide I don't have to sit quietly while someone insults me. My mom told me I was not to do it at the next family dinner. I didn't promise. A few weeks later, we were all at my grandparents' house. My grandparents, my parents, Claudia, Madison and her husband, Daniel, a few other relatives. I already knew something was wrong because Claudia barely looked at me. Dinner was surprisingly peaceful. Then dessert came out. My grandmother asked Madison how the baby was sleeping. Everyone started talking about babies. I knew where this was going. Claudia looked directly at me, then at Daniel, and smiled. "So, any announcements from you two yet?" Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. I said no. Claudia sighed. "Well, hopefully you're not waiting much longer. It would be such a shame if all those years of waiting for a wedding meant you waited too long for the important part. The entire table went quiet. I looked at my mom. She was staring at me. Not Claudia, me, and I knew exactly what that look meant. Don't. So I turned back to Claudia. Is that supposed to make me feel bad? My mom immediately said my name, Megan. Claudia put her fork down. Oh my God, there she goes again. I said, I'm just asking. No, you're not, Claudia said. You're trying to make me look like some horrible person. Before I could respond, my mom jumped in. She's right. You need to stop doing this. Daniel said. Doing what? Asking why someone keeps insulting her. My mom told him to stay out of it. And that's when Madison spoke. Actually, can we stop pretending Mom isn't insulting her? Everything stopped. Claudia stared at her daughter. What did you say? Madison said. You've done this our entire lives. Claudia laughed. I have never... Yes, you have. Madison looked at me. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. And she didn't only do it to you. Apparently, while Claudia spent my childhood telling me how beautiful, skinny, and perfect Madison was, she was doing the opposite to Madison when I wasn't around. Why couldn't she be more outgoing like me? Why couldn't she have my confidence? Why couldn't she get grades like mine? Why couldn't she have a serious relationship like mine? When Daniel and I bought our house, Claudia apparently spent weeks asking Madison why she wasn't settling down. When Daniel proposed, Claudia asked Madison whether she was worried she'd be left behind. We had spent years slowly becoming less close because both of us thought the other one was being used as proof that we weren't good enough. And the entire time, Claudia was doing it to both of us. But Madison wasn't finished. She looked directly at her mom. Tell her about the exam. Claudia's face changed. I had no idea what she meant. Madison explained. When she was 17, she had an important exam the next morning. She'd studied for weeks. The night before, Claudia suddenly decided the entire downstairs needed cleaning because family was visiting the following afternoon. Madison told her she needed to sleep. Claudia wouldn't let her go upstairs until almost 1 in the morning. Madison bombed the exam. For years, she'd assumed her mother was just being unreasonable. Until years later, during an argument, Claudia told her, maybe if you'd spent less time trying to prove how much smarter you were than everyone, you wouldn't have been so stressed. Madison said she'd never forgotten it. Claudia immediately said, that is not what happened. And then my mom did something strange. She defended Claudia. She was trying to teach you responsibility. Madison looked at her. How would you know? My mom stopped talking. I noticed it. So did Madison. But Claudia was already furious. She accused Madison of twisting childhood memories. Then Madison brought up something else. A boy named Ryan. When Madison was 16, Ryan had asked her to a school dance. 2 days later, he suddenly canceled. He told her his parents didn't want him dating. Madison was devastated. Years later, she ran into him. Apparently, his parents had never said that. Someone had called his house pretending to be Madison's mother. The person told Ryan's mom that Madison was boy-obsessed, emotionally unstable, and that it would be better if Ryan stayed away from her. Ryan's mother forced him to cancel. Madison had always suspected Claudia. Now she asked her directly, "Was that you?" Claudia didn't answer. That was enough. Madison started crying, and then Claudia turned toward my mom. "Don't sit there looking shocked, Diane." My mother went completely still. Claudia laughed. "You did the same thing." My stomach dropped. My mom said, "Shut up, Claudia," and that's when I realized this wasn't just about my aunt anymore, because whatever my mom had been hiding was bad enough that she didn't even try to deny it. What did my own mother do to me, and why had both of these women been secretly sabotaging their own daughters for years? That's where I'll leave you today. Subscribe and come back tomorrow for part 2, because what came out next completely destroyed our family. And until then, keep moving. Keep running. You're doing great!